All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. This is DFS Army's NBA pre-lock show. I'm your host, Josiah, aka Bob226. And then we have one of the many GOAT coaches here, Madness. Man, I feel like it's the first time you've been here without the Bucks on the slate. Kind of refreshing, maybe. That's how I feel. I don't know. How do you feel? How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I need a break from the Bucks after the last two games, so I'm more than happy to talk about some other teams.
Exactly. Last night was decent. It was a pretty much a break-even slate for me, slightly positive, not anything to be overly excited about. And then the Reese of it all definitely was a big hiccup there. I feel like it would have been an even better slate if I didn't get stuck on that. And then, of course, he's back in our lives today, so we'll get there. Dixon, Champion, Cujo, Steven, Cedric, Brandon, good to see you guys. Brandon, I didn't get the chance to read through your message, but I'll look at it after this. And we'll get to your question, too, once we get to those games. First game on the slate, we have the Mavericks going up against the Hornets. Nice 228.5 total. Gigantic spread, which is a trend on this slate. 13 points. Dallas going up against Charlotte. For Dallas tonight, they have their usual folks out. The guys who've been out for, a while now, like Cooper Flagg's not suddenly going to play tonight. Najee Marshall is out, and so that's relatively new. Boosts to guys like Caleb Martin, Chris Middleton, forwards in general. Marvin Bagley's out. That's why you're seeing a boost to some of the bigs here. Forwards, Klay Thompson's out. Another boost to guys like Martin, Christie, and the rest of the wings. Matchup's not great going up against Charlotte here. They're a team that's still trying. It was hard for me to get to these guys. Do you like any of them?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. They're priced up for Flag being out already. If I had to go to one, I think it's be PJ Washington. We know those minutes are kind of locked in as long as this game doesn't, go crazy blowout. But I do kind of like Washington at 6,400. Other than that, it's not a whole lot. I always have a soft spot for AJ Johnson, but not at 4,100 with the other value we have on this slate. So I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't love the Mavericks today.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't do anything in the DS to make these guys show up. And if you're wondering what the DS is, that's the Domination Station. It's our optimizer here. Click the link in the description. Use promo code MADNESS for a 10% discount to have access to the Discord, to the optimizer, to everything you need to have a lot of success here. Definitely recommend that. But yeah, I don't like Dallas tonight, and they're not showing up at all, which I'm completely fine with. Gun to head, you have to pick one. I'm with you there too. I think PJ Washington's the easiest one to click on, but no one stood out for me too much. Can't say the same thing for the Charlotte side of this game. Y'all know I'm a Hornets fan, so I was going to like this one a little bit no matter what. But no real injury news, but they have the soft matchup against Dallas. We've been picking on this team all year long. Good total here, and the price tags aren't insane. How are you kind of looking at them?
Yeah, there's a couple of guys I like from the Charlotte side of things. Like you said, the matchup is great. This Dallas team has no incentive to play any sort of offense or defense at this point. So I like Brandon Miller quite a bit. The price tag has come down. He was in the 8Ks as soon as last week. So 7,500 is going to look good on him. I do like going overweight on Moussa Diabate. Yeah. He has just been as consistent as they come at 6K. Let me pull him up here, actually, because he's consistently dropping
35 fantasy points. Yeah.
Playing 30 plus minutes. So I think he's just slightly too cheap. And the matchup is great against this Dallas front court. I've been targeting them since they traded AD. So I like Diabate quite a bit, walking double-double there. And then a smidge of LaMelo Ball. Nothing too crazy, just getting some exposure there. 8,500. We know we can stuff the stat sheet a little bit. So mostly Brandon Miller and Moussa Diabate. I like going overweight on Diabate at just 8% ownership right now. And then pretty much matching the field on LaMelo Ball.
Yeah. I like this team a lot. Like you mentioned, we've been targeting this team all year. I've been targeting Orlando for a long time, even last year, even when AD was still here. I love picking on him. I have LaMelo listed as a leverage play. He's a risky one, very scary one. That's LaMelo Ball to the T these days. His minutes are still a bit all over the place, but production is usually there more often than it's not, and the matchup is great. and he's still not 9K, which I am willing to take a shot on. So I have a 20% min on LaMelo. It's scary, but I'm going to do it. He's the one I'm going to get leverage on here, but I'll have exposure to all of these Hornets. I have a 10% min on Diabate. He was showing up naturally, then he wasn't. And so put a 10% min there. He's someone I want to have leverage on. Brandon Miller showing up in 65% of lineups. Technically a core play. I'm going to have a shit ton of him tonight. Con Knipple, I was getting just right at 3% Knipple, and now he's kind of fallen off. I like Knipple enough to force some exposure here. He never projects well. Literally, the only time I've ever seen him project well was when LaMelo's out. The numbers will never point you towards Con Knipple. He's just someone I just like to have exposure to because we've seen him pop off enough times, and he's never really all that expensive. So I'll put a 5% min here. Nothing too crazy, but someone I want to have exposure to. And Miles Bridges is fine. Y'all know I have some bias against him. Not my favorite Hornet by a long shot. Wish he wasn't on the team, but he's been good this year from a DFS perspective. Once again, I'm not going to go crazy and put like a 10% min on him. Well, actually, I will put a 10% min on him. I thought his ownership was going to be a little bit lower than 8. But I will put a 10% min on him. And if I'm doing that on him, I'll do at least a 10 on Con Knipple. This is one of 2 teams tonight that I just really wanted to make sure I had some pretty good exposure to, because I like the spot enough for that. All right. Next game, unless there's anything else you want to touch on here.
No, I think you nailed it.
Dixon said Brandon Miller is 100% leaving the game injured tonight since he's so high owned. Real. I mean, that's actually what happens with Brandon Miller pretty consistently. So not the craziest thing. Clegg was on Knipple too. 49 points last time against Dallas. Hey, I love that. Yeah, that was back when Cooper Flagg and him were having a really good back and forth. That was a good game. All right. Washington side of this game against Orlando. Or Washington played last night. They didn't get blown out, which was surprising. Orlando, they're fresh, though. They almost definitely will blow out the Wizards tonight. Didn't happen yesterday, but today they'll get what they deserve. For Washington, they have their laundry list of injuries. Tristan Vucevic is out, which means we should see Reese start again here. Curious to see how you're thinking about the situation at this point, because we saw what happened last night. Reese started, played a decent amount of minutes, got into some pretty hefty foul trouble, and didn't do a lot while he was out there. So it looks like he's going to be chalky once again. Keyshawn George is out. He's been out a lot this year. Boosts to guys like Riley, Champagny. Anthony Gill is out. Boosts to guys like Riley, Champagny, Reese, Jameer Watkins is out. Boosts to Champagny, Jaden Hardy, Sharif Cooper, those type of guys. So this team's super banged up like they have been all year. Not my favorite matchup, but who are you looking at here, man?
Yeah, they're going to look pretty dang good, even in a tougher matchup. I'll start with Reese because I was under on him last night. I think I'm going to do the same thing tonight, mostly because of the Orlando news we just got, which is Wendell Carter Jr. is out. So I think I'm going to play the starting center for Orlando in favor of Reese, whether that's Wagner or Batadze. So Wagner's at 3,400, Goga's at 3K. I just like those guys from a per minute perspective a lot more than I like Reese. And like you said, he got into some pretty quick foul trouble and ended up fouling out. So I get it. The Stone Min starting center is hard to get away from, and I'm not saying fade him. I'll be underweight. But the rest of this team, they look good. Jaden Hardy should see additional minutes. Champagne's been great when he's been given the opportunity, even in mid-20s minutes. He's looked good this season. So 5,200, I don't hate that price tag there. And actually, after it's going to be hard for me to go back to Will Riley after last night. He was so bad. But I think it's going to be a lot of Hardy and Champagny here, and then I will be underweight on Julian Reese.
Yeah, it's this Wizards team, kind of like we talked about last night. They play everybody, and it's going to be like this towards the end of the season. First part of the year, we can focus on the MPJs. We can focus on the Georges, the guys who they want to see develop. End of the year, They're trying to give their real talented players rest, and so it's just going to be a lot of these randoms that just pop off. Clegg, that was a good call in Kalabali yesterday. That popped off. But I wouldn't say he hit 6x pretty consistently. That's just not the case. It's pretty random with pretty much all of the Wizards. But these guys are in a decent spot because none of them are expensive. It's going to be what I say most nights you can pick your poison here. Şengün popped off last night. That was a great leverage play that hit. And Jokic, disappointed. I didn't want to be right about that one. Wish I played a lot less of him. But it was sometimes these things, you can just see them coming a mile away. But with the Wizards tonight, absolutely none of them stand out enough for me to want to prioritize any of them. It's just going to be a spot of who the DS likes. DS likes Julian Reese. I'm open to going back here. We knew Houston was a really good defense. We knew it was going to be a tough spot for him. Him being 3K again, I'm open to going back here. I think you're right. We will have some interesting potential pivots from the Magic now, but he's still someone who was good enough last night, and they gave him enough minutes where I'm not trying to fade him too hard. And then Jaden Hardy is showing up in 23% of lineups, and so it is almost just like literally any of these other guys like Chem Penny or Will Riley showing up. I would have been fine with it, but not going to force it. Magic side of this game, they have the super soft matchup against the Wizards, which we love, but I hate to say it, I just feel like they're priced appropriately, and so they're not getting as much ownership as I thought they would. Guys like Anthony Black's out, so that's why we should see Suggs see more minutes. He should also start tonight. And then Javion Carter is another guy who benefits here. 3,800 value play. That's fine, but I do think we have some better value options. And then Wendell Carter Jr. is out. And so guys like Mo Wags and Goga are in good spots, like you mentioned. How are you looking at this, man?
Kind of in the same boat. Yeah, I don't really love the kind of main pieces. I do think you can make a pretty good case for Paolo, just given the ceiling he has at 9,400 in a great matchup. So I will not talk anybody off of Paolo. Probably get there a little bit myself. Suggs, I get it. No Black, no Wagner. He's going to make sense. Probably not a priority by any means, but he's going to look good. My real focus comes with whoever starts at center. I hope it's Mo Wagner because he's just better from a per minute standpoint. And against Washington, he should be able to do whatever he wants. So give me all the Mo Wagner if he starts at 3,400. And then I do like Tristan da Silva. Not a fun player to watch by any means, but he's playing a ton of minutes. I mean, 35 to 40 minutes per game. No Black, no Wagner. So he's going to be out there. No issue with Tristan da Silva if he makes your lineup work. And if the starting five ends up being Goga, you're probably going to play one of Reese or Goga or both in most of your lineups. So I hope it's Wagner, but between Goga and Reese, if that is the starting two here, they're going to draw a lot of ownership.
Yeah, I literally just saw this projection update, and I already know Goga and Mo Vogs are going to pop up in a shit ton of lineups as soon as I click optimize. I wonder if Reese goes a little under-owned now in this spot with two better centers and they are better. Like it's clear as day. They're just better points per minute producers. They just do more while they're out there. I just don't want to completely forget about Reese either because we just don't know what we don't know. And a matchup against the Rockets is just a really hard matchup to try and compare people against. So I do like these bigs that we have now, Mo Vags, Goga, but I don't want to completely forget about Reese either. And I think the Tristan da Silva call was really good. He was popping even before we got the Wendell Carter Jr. news, but the rebounding opportunities will be there for him even easier now without Wendell Carter Jr., and it should solidify his minutes some too, which weren't really in question too much here. What were your thoughts on Suggs and Paolo? Like, were you trying to get exposure there, or were you not as excited about them because of the potential blowout narrative that Clegg mentioned?
I'm mostly good with him. I do like the ceiling quite a bit on Paolo. He's shown it a little bit more frequently as of late.
Yeah.
So I do like Paolo. I'm not going to talk you off of him. He's playing a ton of minutes, but to the point of blowout. I'll say Orlando is fighting for their playoff lives right now. So be careful with the blowout. But it's Washington. They are not good right now. So I do like Paolo more than Suggs, but I'm good with whatever Suggs I land on. Without Black, he should be able to run that backcourt.
Yeah, I'm almost always a little bit more lukewarm on Paolo, just because in comparison to some of the other 9K guys, we just see him hit that 60-point upside less consistently than the other stars. But this is a smash spot for him. Everything on paper speaks to him having a strong game. If you ignore the very strong likelihood of a blowout, I have a 25% min on him. His ownership's only going lower and lower, though, so I don't think I need that 25% min anymore. I'll do 15 and just allow myself to get slightly over the field on him and just kind of call it a day there. Not super interested in Desmond Bane. Let's see. I think De Silva was showing up for me naturally by himself earlier, which I liked. Yeah, he's showing up in about 38% of lineups. That's good. Paolo showing up a bit more, but I didn't rerun yet, so I'll have to do that to see what happens with the other centers. The most important thing to me, though, is I want to make sure I'm getting some exposure to Suggs, 20%. Paolo, I want to make sure he's showing up in lineups. Mo Wagner and Goga will show up in lineups naturally. I want to make sure Tristan De Silva is not falling through the cracks, though. This is a good team and a good matchup. I feel better about the value plays than the pay-ups, but yeah, Bane is the bane of my existence. I rarely go out of my way to force him in, and 9 times out of 10, it works out for me. Were you on Bane more than me? I might have missed that.
No, not a Bane guy. I'm in the same boat. I'll like him if like Paolo is out, but that's going to be about the only scenario I play Bane. He's been very inconsistent this year.
Yeah, or Suggs out. Sometimes I'll like him a little bit more, but it's rare. All right, next up we have the Pistons going up against the Cavs. The Cavs have improved defensively towards the end. Well, as we got closer towards the All-Star break, and definitely since. Who would have thought James Harden coming makes you a better defensive team? That is not what happened, but it's what the numbers could tell you if you look at it the wrong way. But Detroit, they're pretty healthy here. Not really any injury news to talk about. Isaiah Stewart's back, so minutes are pretty spread out here. How are you looking at Detroit tonight?
It's mostly going to be the high-end guys for me. Cade is going to look like a top spend up on the slate. I do like somebody else in that tier a bit more, but it's hard to argue with the form Cade is in right now. His floor is like 50, 55 fantasy points. So I like Cade quite a bit. I mean, we just saw Jalen Duren put up 67 DraftKings points against this Cleveland team 2 games ago. So I'm not going to talk you off playing Duren here either. He's been in awesome form, at least 48 DraftKings points in 4 of his last 5. His minutes have increased. He's playing relatively consistent 30-plus minutes. So in this game, it's going to be a dogfight. This is something we could see in the Eastern Conference Finals. So both these teams want to win. I like Cade, and I don't mind Duren. Not a guy I'm going to go out of my way to get, but I do like the form he's in.
Yeah, for me, it's just Cade or bust here. 25% min on Cade. I missed that Duren play last time out. I play him almost every single slate, and I didn't do it that game. I don't think I did. Who knows? It feels like I didn't. But I did put a 25% min on Cade to make sure he showed up over the field. You'll see Maxi's the chalkiest stud on the slate, and so I just made sure I was at field weight, or his ownership has gone down even more. But my strategy here is just kind of make sure I'm at field weight or below field weight on the chalkiest stud per usual. And then I like being over on guys like Wemby and Cade and LaMelo was kind of my approach here. Actually, let me resort this. Yeah, Cade, Wemby, I'm over on, and then just getting some exposure to the other studs, and we'll be slightly under the field on Maxey was the way I was treating that. So I like Cade. The Cavs, I don't have any interest in. They won't have Donovan Mitchell, which would usually be interesting for guys like Harden and some of the other guards, but this Detroit defense is legit. I'm not picking on them. How are you seeing it?
Yeah, it's weird that we're not getting a ton of this Cavs team without Mitchell, but I'm in the same boat. Hate the matchup, and I think there's better plays. So you could get to Harden without Mitchell. He's going to dominate usage, but I just don't think we have to tonight.
Yeah. If he was a little bit cheaper, like in the 8Ks, I would maybe bite, but I can't at this point. All right. Knicks going up against the Raptors. Lowest total on the slate, but the closest tied for the closest spread on the slate at 2.5 points for the Knicks. Two good defensive teams going up against each other. Never my favorite thing to target. Also, no injury news for the Knicks, which never my favorite thing to target. I don't like the Knicks tonight. Am I missing something here?
No, I'm in the same boat. This game is tough to get to. Like you said, two good defensive teams and two relatively healthy teams too. So I am not getting to the Knicks.
Yeah. So moving on, we have the Raptors side of this game. And it's almost the exact same story. Colin Murray-Boyles is out, so, boost to guys like Jakob Poeltl and Sandro, kind of. But with Jakob Poeltl back, tough matchup. Not looking at any of these guys either, are you?
The only guy I can make somewhat of a case for is Poeltl, but there's just other. I mean, with the Orlando center situation, the Washington center situation, some guy we're going to talk about named Wembanyama later. I just don't think it's the slate. He's been in good form. I mean, playing close-ish to 30 minutes. I guess if you want to get crazy different, go to Poeltl, but that's the only case I can make for the Raptors.
It's a pay down or I'm paying all the way up as center slate for me. These mid-range guys, even though the pricing is not terrible on Jakob, I would just prefer a smaller slate with less guys. You can also pretty easily get 25 to 30 fantasy points. All right, next game. I promise some of these games get better, but this is a tough run here for the Nets going up against Miami. Miami at least plays at a fast pace, so that would, in theory, keep this team pretty interesting. Dimon is out for the Nets, so that's a boost to these guards. Guys like Traore, Williams see a nice boost here when it comes to minutes, at least. I don't love this team either. I'm not even playing MPJ, who's been my guy for a while. Are you taking any shots on the Nets?
I did slap a love on MPJ. Okay. I think he's the only guy I can reasonably get to here. And the only reason being is the pace up spot. We know the ceiling's there, 8,400. I don't think is too crazy of a price tag. So we haven't seen the ceiling in a little bit from him. Maybe he's due. Maybe it's gone. I don't know. But I don't mind being overweight on MPJ. And it's not going to be hard to beat overweight. He's like 2% owned right now.
A low-owned MPJ. This has been that was my bread and butter, the first half of this season. I'm a little nervous to go back to it post All-Star break. And I think I'll refrain from now. But I think you're right that taking a shot on Porter in a pace up spot makes sense. So that could be a very awesome, sneaky low-owned play. But I didn't take any shots on the Nets, and none of them are showing up naturally, for better or worse. The Miami Heat side of this game, Nets just plays at such a slow pace. This is a pace down spot for them. Not a spot that stood out for me too much again, but we do have Norman Powell out, which means Hero should start. Boost to guys like Andrew Wiggins from a usage rate standpoint as well. Are any of the Miami guys standing out for you? A couple of them are seeing some ownership.
Yeah, not a ton, but I do like the big men here. I don't love playing Bam Adebayo ever, but I am getting some exposure to him. The matchup is good. He's been in good form, so no issue there. And I do like Khalil Ware a little bit at 4,900. The issue, again, lies within the center position as a whole. So he's been in great form, 33 DraftKings points in 4 of his last 6 games. The minutes are all over the place is the issue, and the center position on the slate is more so the issue. So, again, if you want to get crazy, he projects well relative to 4,900. But if Brooklyn can't keep up in this one, he's going to lose a rotation or two and see 15 to 20 minutes. So, yeah. GPP play only. Easy for me to say.
What's crazy is you're so right. This is a good matchup for Bam. Nets are an awful rebounding team. There's no one who can defend him. We just need this game to stay close, which feels like it's asking for a lot. But he's probably one of the other center options I would say are viable outside of and I'm going to take this man off of Diabate because I just don't think this is necessary. Rudy Gobert or Bam Adebayo? They're almost the same play. For now, I'm not going to put them in on Bam because I have it on Gobert, but I'll go back and forth on it. All right, next up we have the Oklahoma City Thunder going up against the Chicago Bulls. OKC have been injured all for the last few weeks. They will continue to be injured. SGA is still out, which means we should see Cason Wallace see significantly more minutes. My guy Dixon was talking about how he felt like Cason Wallace was the lock of the night, and he does see a big usage increase too. Same for all of the rest of the starters with SGA out. Hartenstein's out, so boost to Holmgren and Jalen Williams with a Y. These guys are popping. Are you still looking at them, though, with some of the other news we've gotten from the earlier games?
Yeah, I'm still getting to the Thunder. Cason Wallace is tipping the scales to be a core play for me. I haven't quite done it yet, but he's going to look pretty good here. I would assume starting at point guard against a bad Chicago defense. So he's going to look really good. I did kind of rank them in my sheets between the three guards. So between Wallace, Joe, and McCain, I have them ranked Wallace, McCain, Joe. If this game does, maybe I just have a soft spot for Jared McCain. I don't know. I mean, we've seen him do it in the NBA, so maybe that's part of it. But at 3,800, I think he's a viable value play. Jalen Williams, I don't think he starts here. So if we see an ownership drop on him, he's a guy I'll probably go overweight on. If people see that starting lineup and just jump ship for whatever reason, the power forward eligibility there is pretty huge. Again, we talk about the center plays available. So if his ownership comes down, and even if it doesn't, I do like Jalen Williams. When he's gotten the opportunity this season, he's dominated. So I like targeting bigs against the Chicago team, and I think that goes for Chet Holmgren too. 8,500. I don't want to prioritize him by any means, but I do think he looks good. Like I said, the Chicago front court is not good. The one guy I'm not getting to is Alex Caruso. I don't understand 15% ownership on him. I get it 3,900, but we have better value plays.
Yeah, Alex Caruso's a dart throw on a good night because he can get hot. We've seen it before, but not someone I want 10% of when we have other value. I get that. I did put a 15% min on Chet. He was showing up a bit more earlier. Blowout run is definitely a concern here, or him not seeing blowout run is a concern, but I think he's still fine. Cason Wallace is showing up in 54% of my lineups. Close to double field weight exposure. That's appropriate for me. And I might need to look at this a little bit because those centers from Orlando are not popping as much as I thought they would. So we'll have to see if we need to adjust anything there. But I did put a 10% min on Aaron Wiggins. Just as I hate this OKC team so freaking much, man. I hate them. They play everybody. They just get weird with minutes. And so whenever I have a team like this, I'm like, who would piss me off the most? It would be Aaron Wiggins going off tonight because that's some random shit that would happen for OKC. And so at least I have 10% exposure if that's what happens here. Can make a similar argument for Lou Dort, but Wiggins is a better points per minute guy. And so I feel like there's a better case for that. Jarrett McCain, I understand the hype, man. I really do. Because every time I see it and I see his ownership, I'm like, I would love to be on that train when he's popping off. Everyone's like, oh, we should have played him in a blowout. But I never do. And it did bite me that one time. But I think
one time keeps you coming back.
I'm just going to keep waiting for now. And then for this Bulls side, they have the freaking brutal matchup against OKC. Chicago's tough because they're another team that they just play a lot of bodies. Anthony Simons is out, so he's been out for a while. That solidified the minutes for these guards, which we desperately needed. I can't imagine if he was on this team right now. I don't even want to think about what they would do with minutes, but I didn't do anything to force these guys. I know Giddey was popping for some people earlier. He's not showing up for me much, just around 11% ownership. And that's pretty much it from Chicago. What are you seeing, man?
Yeah, it's really just Giddey, and I don't love the amount I'm getting currently. Well, it's only 17%, but I guess I'm good with that. He had a massive game last time out against my Milwaukee Bucks, unfortunately. So
See, but guards against the Bucks is a thing. You can play some guards against the Bucks.
It is. So, I mean, we know he can do it all. And we saw it last time. Rebound, score, assist, blocks, steals. He did everything. So I don't mind it. I hate the matchup. It helps with SGA and Hartenstein out, but I'm just gonna whatever the DS gives me, I'm good with it. I don't need any of these other bulls.
Yeah. As you can see here, not seeing much Giddey anymore. He is still showing up right at field weight exposure, but not any more than that. And then Leonard Miller showing up in one lineup. Wish that wasn't happening, but it's fine. I'm not going to X him out or anything. In general, I would avoid this team if possible. I don't even like seeing Giddey show up as much as he is. Goga starting. All right, B-Dub. Appreciate that, man. That's going to keep things interesting. And that also explains why Goga's the one showing up in 91% of my lineups so far. So we'll see. All right, this is a game I like a lot. I feel like you're probably going to like it a decent amount too. We have the Spurs going up against Philadelphia. For the Spurs, Harrison Barnes is questionable. I don't think it will impact too much from a DFS perspective. But is Victor Wembanyama on a slate going up against the Sixers without Joel Embiid? How are you looking at it, man?
Yeah. I mean, I love Victor Wembanyama. He's going to be a core play for me. He's the top raw option on the slate for me. I know he's had a couple of down games over his last few, but Andre Drummond standing in the way of Victor Wembanyama is not going to end well for Andre Drummond. So give me all the Wemby. We have all the value in the world to get to him. The only way I can see you not getting to him is if you do want to go double pay down at center and go Reese Goga, Mo Wagner, and then spend all the way up for Cade and probably another stud. I get that route too, but I want all the Wemby here. He looks awesome. He's going to be a core play for me. The rest of the Spurs, I'm not getting a ton of. Maybe some Dylan Harper at 4,400, but I think that goes back to just having better value plays. So it's really just going to be Wemby in a big way, and that is going to be it from the Spurs for me.
Yeah, when Victor Wembanyama's back to seeing 30-plus minutes, at least for me, I just sign up in most slates. And when there's a good matchup that's actually a little bit easier than it looks like on paper, I want to be over the field. So 30% min there with Victor Wembanyama. And then Castle's a leverage play for me tonight. He's a leverage play for me on most slates. I treat the rest of the Spurs outside of Victor Wembanyama like I do a lot of teams like Washington and a couple of others where they just play a lot of bodies. It's really going to come down to who has the hot hand. Castle is a little bit better in the paint, and without Joel Embiid, the paint will be softer for him to take advantage, and so he's the guard I chose. You could choose Harper, you could choose Fox. Castle's just the one I typically choose, and so that's why I have a 15% min there, him being a leverage play. And none of the other Spurs show up. Other side of this game, like I mentioned, no Joel Embiid, no Kelly Oubre, so we should see Quentin Grimes start for him. And then Paul George has been out for a bit now, so that's not new. Tough matchup against the Spurs, but they're not too pricey here without Joel Embiid and Paul George. Who's standing out for you here?
I don't know what to do with Tyrese Maxey. I like him. I don't like the matchup. I know De'Aaron Fox not good defensively, but they can easily just throw Stephon Castle on him and make his life hell for 60 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever you want to call it.
Like there's only VJ Edgecombe left on this team that they have to even worry about a little bit, and nobody else. Maybe Grimes.
That is where my head is at. So I don't know what to do with him. I think I'm going to go underweight. It's going to be scary as all hell, but like you said, it's the old New England Patriots adage, take away the best player and make the rest of the team beat you. And I think that's what they're going to do here. So it's scary. Maxey has been in unreal form. He's shooting a ton. I'm not going to talk you out of it. I'll put it that way. So he's going to look good, but from a leverage perspective, I think I'm going to be underweight. I do like Quentin Grimes a lot.
Yeah.
He's going to be a core play for me. It's an ugly core play. I get it. But without Kelly Oubre, without Paul George, I think he sees 35 minutes in this spot at 4,300. And if they do take away Maxey, he's going to see a ton of open shots. So I like Quentin Grimes quite a bit. I can't do Andre Drummond against Wembanyama. He is drawing some ownership, but he had a big game last time on. I was on him for that game, but this is a much different spot. So it's going to be mainly Grimes here. I'll have some Maxey, but I will be underweight. It scares me, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and some of y'all might have noticed I had a min on Watford. I took that min off. We had kind of like last night's slate. We had value options, but before the Orlando news, we didn't really have any value I loved, and so I just liked having some exposure to Watford to mix him in. But now I think we have better value. I feel like he's a little bit less necessary. I would still like to see him show up, 'cause I think he's a fine 3,300 play, but not someone I feel like I have to force in. Quentin Grimes naturally shows up in 60% of lineups. Significant leverage, core play. I thought when you said it, it felt like a shock to me. And then I looked at my own exposures and saw he was showing up as a core play for me too. And I was like, damn, all right. I guess that's not as crazy. Andre Drummond was showing up a lot earlier, but kind of as expected, he's just fallen off to only around 5% with the value we have at the center position. I capped TJ or Tyrese Maxey at 25%. Just my usual philosophy is I like Maxey with Embiid almost more than without. Can Maxey have great performances without Joel Embiid? Yes, we've seen it multiple times already, but I just like it a little bit less. And so that made it a little bit easier for me not to just put a 30% max, but just to give myself a little bit of leverage by being under the field here of a 25% max. We'll still show up in lineup. So if I take some shit down, don't say anything about me having max exposure, but I am going to deprioritize him a bit. And then VJ Edgecombe is showing up in 30% of lineups. So I'm over the field there. I like that.
He's
VJ
been good.
Edgecombe, I'm always just liking some exposure to without Paul George. All right, Memphis Grizzlies team injured. They are without all the guys who are normally out, but they have some Q tags to keep it interesting. Santi Aldama is questionable, which means if he gets ruled out, think of it as like a boost to guys like Gigi Jackson, Oliver Prosper, and the other forwards and centers. Ty Jerome is questionable. He's been playing more minutes recently. If he gets ruled out, boost to guys like Scottie Pippen, Walter Clayton, Spencer Small. Same exact thing with Cedric Howard, who's also questionable. Guys like Clayton, Pippen, Spencer would see a boost if he gets ruled out. So some injury news that matters somewhat, but this is a tough matchup against this Timberwolves defense. I'm not looking at any of the Grizzlies. Are you?
No, this is easily the ugliest team on the slate. They're going to have like 11 guys that see 20, 25 minutes. So that's going to be a hard pass for me.
Yeah, Clegg's been on fire with some of these plays he's been mentioning lately. You like Taylor Hendricks here as your play of the day. All right, man. I hear you. Super low owned guy. If he pops off, you're in a really good spot. Especially if some of those injuries happen to like guys like Aldama, I could see Hendricks having a little bit of a better spot there. The exact opposite situation for the Timberwolves. They have a super soft matchup against the Grizzlies, but it's so soft we're worried about a blowout happening, like a lot of these games. And as you'll continue to see as we get closer towards the end of the season, for Minnesota, Anthony Edwards is questionable. That's a pretty big deal. If Ant gets ruled out tonight, that's a huge boost in usage to guys like Julius Randle, Gobert, even guys like McDaniels, Reed, and DiVincenzo would see a boost too from a usage rate perspective. Hard to think too much about that right now, but how are you kind of treating it right before lock?
I think I'm going to jump in right now and probably just project this team if Ant is out. So a couple of things, midday downgrade to questionable. He's now a game time decision in a game where they're going to win without him. I don't see why he needs to play or why they would want him to play. So
wait a second. I just got a notification that Aaron Wiggins is starting. Wait, was that not the guy I randomly put a 10% min on? I knew he was going to piss me off. Yes, it was. I cannot lie. I freaking hate that team, man. For the life of me, can't stand them. But anyway, I interrupted you. What were you saying about the Timberwolves?
So, I mean, that's going to take ownership off of Jalen Williams. I kind of thought that's what they would do. I would not panic there. If you have Jalen Williams, I think it takes the ownership off of him. So I still like Jalen Williams, but it's going to make Aaron Wiggins look a lot better. I'm going to project Ant out. I just think it makes sense. Game time decision, midday downgrade against a Memphis team that they likely won't be able to hang with even this second unit. So I haven't done it yet, so I don't know what exposures I'm getting to yet, but expect a boost from Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, and even a little bit of Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
I think that's the way I'm going. We don't know who would start for him in that case, probably Io, but I don't think they need Ant to beat the Memphis Grizzlies' current state. So I think that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I like that. I did have a 15% min on Ant, but I think I'm just going to attack it kind of the way you're looking at it and just go ahead and get some early leverage to guys like Randall, Gobert. McDaniels I have a 10% min on. He was already going to be a leverage play for me tonight because I just like the matchup for him. And anytime he has a chance to be a little bit more aggressive, he can hit a nuts lineup. If Ant gets ruled out, he's an even better play. So 10% min there, and then 15 on Naz Reid and 10% on Dante DiVincenzo. So just I like having exposure to this team, even when I thought Ant was going to play, and with us now feeling like he more than likely won't. I think it's fine. This is a spot that's probably better for you just to kind of wait and then late swap for. It's kind of the right way to treat it, but I like to be a little aggressive when I can be before we get that news. So that's pretty much the slate tonight, guys. It should be an interesting one. End of season NBA is always going to be a little weird, so be ready for random shit to happen. But I think we're in for a good one tonight. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up here, man?
Now watch out for that Ant news. It's at 7:00, so I mean we should get it fairly soon. It'll change some things.
Yeah, agreed. All right, y'all. We'll be back tomorrow at 6. If you need anything, feel free to reach out in the Discord. Peace out and good luck.